Okay, we're going to look at another trig identity. This time it's a trig identity from an exam. And let's look at the question. Here we go. We're going to prove that tan squared minus sine squared equals tan squared times sine squared. Okay, that sounds interesting. What you do is you start with one side. Let's take the left-hand side. And this is what you do. First, you see this tan squared. Well, you know that tangent is really sine over cosine. So tan squared is really sine squared over cos squared. Now, it's really a good idea to think of sine squared as sine squared over 1. The reason it's such a good idea is because you're going to use this idea of combining fractions. And you know how to combine a fraction when you have numbers, or if you do know it, really, it's going to help you with this. If one way you can combine any two fractions is to find a common denominator by multiplying the denominators together. So that's what you do. You go cos squared times 1, b times d. There's your common denominator. And then you do a thing where you cross multiply. You actually are multiplying the top and bottom of this by 1, but you cross multiply. You go a times d. So you go sine squared times 1. That's how I get sine squared. And then you go b times c. You cross multiply again. Cos squared top and bottom. Cos squared times sine squared gives you, you're multiplying by a negative, it gives you minus sine squared cos squared. Well, there it is. You combined your fraction, and that's the big trick, because now there's another thing that comes up, and it's really a good thing to do. And that's always, wherever you can, is to look to factor and to cancel. So factoring is the key thing here. Factoring is the big idea. So if I look at what's in both of these things, I see sine squared goes into the both. I can write it down once, and now go sine squared times 1 gives me sine squared. Sine squared times cos minus cos squared gives me minus sine squared cos squared. So I factored out sine squared. Oh, look at this. Sine squared over cos squared. I know what that equals. That equals tan squared. And back, there's another identity that says that 1 minus cos squared is really equal to sine squared. Well, I think we've managed it. We've managed to make the left-hand side look exactly like the right-hand side. If we look at this next question, this is an application. This is an application of exactly that same thing. We want to combine these two fractions. So we take the left-hand side. We multiply the denominators together. 1 plus sine times 1 minus sine. Then 1 minus sine gets multiplied by 1 on the left. 1 plus sine times 1 on the right. You get 1 plus 1, which is 2. Minus sine plus sine. Hey, the signs are gone. We've got that 2 we want on the right-hand side. Now we have to do kind of FOIL on this, but this is like a plus b times a minus b. The first two multiply to equal 1, but the outside minus sine x and the inside plus sine x will cancel. And you'll just get this plus sine times minus sine is minus sine squared x on the bottom. You get 1 minus sine squared on the bottom. But 1 minus sine squared, that equals cos squared. Hey, I think we've done it again. We've made the left-hand side look like the right-hand side. And that's what we can say. We've got it to equal the right-hand side. So there we manage those two identities. I think that's enough for now. Okay.